And the XPEL Grand Prix here at Road America is away. Linus Lundqvist in that blue and white American Legion Honda leads the field. His teammate Marcus Armstrong in the green car tucks in behind. And here around the outside comes Kyle Kirkwood. Oh no! Linus Lundqvist has spun and so too has Armstrong.
I believe Marcus Armstrong in that green Ridgeline Honda, teammates to Linus Lundqvist. I think the nose of Armstrong got into the back of the pole sitter Lundqvist gearbox, and that's a disaster for that race team, Chip Ganassi.
Kyle Kirkwood leading Scott McLaughlin, watch that yellow XPEL Chevy, pulls out of the draft as they head to turn one. It's Kirkwood and McLaughlin with Scotty Mack taking the lead.
What a forceful run up the hill. Kirkwood had a bit of an oversteer moment, losing rear traction coming off that final corner to the flag, but further back, look at this. How about Christian Rasmussen on Kiffin Simpson? Simpson closes the door.
It's a hot
Kiffin
spot.
Simpson, guys, just crashed over in Canada corner.
Whoa.
Big off.
He's had one of his best weekends in his young IndyCar career, but it's all come to a crunching halt. And this has been a nightmare start to the race for Chip Ganassi Racing. The teammates hitting each other, lap one, turn one, and now another one of their rookies has crashed out. Rasmussen, do they hit? They
sure
certainly do.
Overly aggressive moves all race long so far from Rasmussen.
So how hard does Kiffin Simpson get into the wall or the tire barrier? Unfortunately, that's concrete. That's a big hit. That's going to, oh yeah, he's done.
And let's get into a racing rhythm.
Boy, Scotty Mack looks untouchable on restarts so far, getting terrific runs on the opening few corners. Meanwhile, Kirkwood has to defend again to Team Penske teammate for McLaughlin, Joseph Newgarden, who looks to the outside.
Primary tires on Kirkwood, alternates on Newgarden. You think advantage on the restart's going to go to Joseph in that blue and white PPG Chevy, but Kirkwood doing a great job through three, getting a good launch down here. No pressure right now.
I'm already seeing some pretty big wiggles, though, from the PPG driver of Newgarden. I wonder if the red tires have just tipped over the edge. We'll find out at the end of this first lap.
Rossi again having to defend against Scott Dixon. Will Power's getting in the story right on the inside of Dixon into 5.
He tried that earlier, and here comes Grosjean around the outside. Great restart from Romain Grosjean. He's mixing it up with Alex Palou, that Honko's Hollinger, the green and black machine. It's in the mix.
I'm loving what I'm seeing.
Into the kink. That is dicey as Dixon's going to get freight trained here.
He's got a flat. I think he's got a flat tire to Scott Dixon. He's going very slowly.
He's on the softer red compound, and you're right. I think the left rear, maybe not, or maybe it's just coming apart on balance. No, his tire pressure looks okay.
They are swamping Dixon. Here we go, McLaughlin cresting the hill.
We're just leaving now.
Newgarden and Power up ahead to the right. Watch this. Turn one. Newgarden's on the gas hard. Here comes Scotty McLaughlin.
He might get Will Power, but I don't know if he'll get Newgarden. Power blocks him.
Inside defense, but he can't defend that. Now it's going to be a drag race down the hill to turn 5. McLaughlin is coming on, the two-time Indy 500 winner.
Joseph Newgarden has to pick which lane he wants. He goes driver's right, gives the inside back to McLaughlin. Surprised he didn't try to hold it.
And look at this for the lead of the race. Teammate on teammate. Inside at turn 1, Joseph Newgarden has got Scott McLaughlin.
So this was what we were speculating. How much is McLaughlin going to have to hold back to protect his Firestone alternates? The answer is quite a bit, because Newgarden is head down to the front and gone.
Here we go. Push on the outlap. Newgarden's cresting the hill. Is this going to work for Will Power? Have a look at this. The Verizon Chevy leapfrogs not only McLaughlin, but Joseph Newgarden as well.
The overcut is the move, guys. Joseph went a lap longer than McLaughlin, extended that gap. Then Power a lap longer than Joseph. And look at that. That is a nice, healthy gap. Even with the cold tires, he's got to get up to 10.
Power ends a 2-year winless drought by winning here.
Congrats. Oh, man. There you go. Well-deserved win. We have to fight for all of them. Guys deserve that. Feel great that finally win a race.
Up next, it's the Firestone Grand Prix of Monterey, Sunday, June 23rd. Watch it at 6 p.m. on USA Network.
Welcome to the Push to Pass podcast. I am, and joining me as usual, you see the cast of characters. Well, maybe not as usual. We will get to that here momentarily. But Josh, I know this is not our normal Tuesday. We had to bump things up, or bump things back rather, a couple days. But all is well. How's everything over there in your neck of the woods?
Oh, fantastic. I didn't think IndyCar could surprise me anymore, but they came out with a big announcement that we will definitely be talking about. It's much more exciting than this past Sunday's race, in my opinion, but it was a good week. Been busy, and I'm glad to welcome Michael onto the Push to Pass podcast.
Yep, a lot to go through here in the next hour or so. A lot to discuss. We had a race this past weekend, as Josh just alluded to, and then some big news that seems like it was coming at us like a fire hose all week. We'll discuss each one of those items, but as Josh just alluded to, yes, we do have a new member here in the Push to Pass podcast. I know you've seen this guy here before when Josh has had to take a leave of absence for a prior commitment and such, but Michael Monroe is now going to be joining us here full-time. Michael, I know you're excited. We talked about this earlier this morning, but let me finally officially welcome you here to the Push to Pass podcast.
Yes, like I said, talking with you earlier, it's a huge honor to kind of jump in here with you guys and kind of help bring IndyCar to people, because a lot of people follow and love IndyCar, and we all love IndyCar, and we just are here to help promote the sport and help grow the sport. And I think with today's announcement that we'll talk about is really going to help do that. So really appreciate you guys, and let's see what we can make magic together.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think both of you you're absolutely right that the huge announcement, if you have not seen it, we'll discuss it here later on as the show unfolds. Obviously, we're going to have Mike join us to talk about the betting aspect of Road America this past weekend. And if you were following him on Twitter or X, I think Mike cashed in, and I think he cashed in quite handsomely this week. But we'll hear from him here towards the bottom half of the hour. But first and foremost, what we do need to get to, obviously, just as you alluded to and touched on there, we did have a race this past weekend, the XPEL Grand Prix there, or Grand Prix, I guess, there at Road America. And it started out awful. It started out like Detroit did theirs. You had the two teammates there, as you've seen on the opening video there, that took each other out and kind of made them to a non-player for the rest of the race. Michael, as we do on here, we will. I have 5 takeaways that I concluded from the race on Sunday, and then also that were published on the website that I'll get you caught up to speed on that as well. We'll go through those 5 takeaways, and then I'd love to hear both of your guys' opinions on these. Am I right? Am I wrong? Or do we share the same opinion here? The first one, takeaway number 5, and I'll start with the least important first, and then go to the most important. And I think Josh kind of alluded to it there in the opening. Has to do with, and where'd that go? There it is. Has to do with, is it time, you guys, you think, for IndyCar to maybe move towards more ovals and then less, or maybe sprinkle in, as NASCAR likes to do, street and road courses? I know I've talked about this before, and I don't think I'm in the minority in this line of thinking. But the way Detroit was or looked 2 weeks ago, and then the way Road America started out this past weekend, I believe, and again, I'd love to hear your guys' opinions on this, that it's time for IndyCar to maybe look outside the box a little bit when it does come to scheduling, and maybe add some more ovals and then maybe sprinkle in, like I said, some street and road courses. Because in my opinion, and again, this is just my opinion, that racing on a street and road courses and ovals is kind of like comparing apples and oranges, I think, to this point. I do understand that a few years ago, these cars that we love so much were very dangerous on ovals, obviously, but give credit to Dallara and the changes that they have made over the years to make this car or these cars safer than what they were. You just take a look at the last 50 laps, how exciting those last 50 laps were at the Indianapolis 500. And that might be maybe the most exciting finish that I've seen in NASCAR, or excuse me, that I've seen in IndyCar maybe since, the Indianapolis 500 finished 2 years ago. Obviously, we don't see finishes like that, those exciting finishes on street and road courses. And I think it kind of turns people off, I think, to IndyCar when you turn on your television and first you're on the USA Network, which obviously that's going to change. But you're watching a street or road course, and it's basically just nose to tail racing. And if you're not in the first, 3 positions, odds are you're probably not going to win that race unless you hit lucky on a fuel strategy or tires, as Josh pointed out there at the bottom of his screen. And then one last point I have, just look at viewership. And I know it's hard to compare the Indianapolis 500 to any other race viewership wise, but I just think, and the numbers I think won't lie here, that there are more viewers tuning in when IndyCar is on an oval compared to what they are on a street or road course. So I just think it's time to, start loading up on the ovals and maybe sprinkle in street and road courses. Josh, Michael, I don't care who goes first, but I'd love to hear your opinion on that.
Mike, you go ahead and take the first one.
Okay, so Derek, as you were talking, I was jotting down some notes. So I'll give you two sides of this here. When it comes to the road courses, with Detroit, I know you brought that up. It sounds like, as I was listening to the drivers, and obviously I wasn't there firsthand as I was last year, but last year a lot of the drivers talked about the length of the course. If we could make it just a little bit longer, it might help with some of the issues they're having. And that really obviously didn't get addressed. And then with Road America, the one problem with removing that from the schedule, well, I think sometimes the race does get strung out, gets a little chaotic at times. They have a great attendance and their support is phenomenal. On the flip side of that, if you want to look at some more ovals, like you said, there's a lot of improvements to the car. The aero screen now is a big benefit. But there's 2 ovals that were taken from the IndyCar schedule, 2 tracks that I absolutely loved IndyCar running. One was Kentucky, which if you look at the attendance, Louisville is always pretty high up on the attendance as far as viewership at TV wise. So that's a market that, we could really tap into. And another is Chicagoland. That racetrack is sitting empty. No one is using it, and it's a shame because right now, obviously, IndyCar would definitely benefit from more ovals, and I believe that those are 2 within, good proximity of Indy where you still have your hardcore fans, but you still get that oval aspect. And then, obviously, there's some more down south, out west. I know I'm a big hater of Las Vegas. And I know a lot of people share that sentiment, but at the same time, there's other ovals. If you want to look at, Iowa in a couple of weeks, Richmond's another one that IndyCar looked to go back to. And then that kind of, with the COVID and everything that kind of happened. So there's ovals out there, and yes, IndyCar could definitely benefit from going to some more ovals.
Yep, I share the same viewpoint that both of you do. I'm a casual fan. I'm not a diehard. For the podcast, I watch every single race. If I don't get to watch it live, I'll go back and watch it on replay. But the casual fan, if you tune in, and as per Michigan, you're Detroit, you've got almost more caution laps than you do on track laps. And then this past weekend, if you were playing a drinking game that every time the announcer said mentioned the word tires, you'd be drunk, because it seemed like it was all tires, as opposed to, hey, look, there's a pass. Hey, look, because there wasn't that that thing that was going to grab the casual fan. That, oh, look, there's a battle for third, or there's a battle for first. I mean, they're going back and forth. It just didn't. It doesn't grab you if you tune in, just you're flipping through channels on a Sunday and you happen to come across a race. You start watching it, and it's just they're all strung out. As Derek said, if you're not in the top 5, you almost never are going to have a chance to win, because going into turn 1, you all get bunched up on the first lap, and somehow, some way, it happens time after time that you all get bunched up, and that going into that first turn, it's gonna be a hectic thing, but everyone dives in there, and it always happens. 1 or 2 or 3 cars are taken out in that first turn of that lap. So to not even make it one lap just turns off some fans. But Michael, you could add Brooklyn, Michigan. I know that one used to be a big IndyCar track, and then probably what it was, like 17 years ago almost, they stopped going there. They've got campgrounds around there. It's a great town. I've been there for the IndyCar race. I'm not sure what's going on with Texas. Is Texas are they under reconstruction, or are they just not going there because of the dangerous speeds that they had a couple of years ago? Is that why they don't go to Texas anymore?
So for Texas, I know, obviously being a NASCAR fan as well, following that series, they moved the race up this year, and a lot of speculation was around maybe reconfiguring the track, or trying to find something to get that PJ1 off. And I think the PJ1 is a big part of why IndyCar is kind of hesitant to go back there, that kind of that resin up in that top groove, because with the Firestone tires, it wasn't sticking like it was for the Goodyears.
Yeah. So I mean, figure out a way to go back to Texas. Maybe have a night race. One of the best things for one of the biggest races for the other series, for the stock car series, is the Coca-Cola 600, which is ran at night under the lights, which always, I don't care what sporting event you're at, if you put it under the lights, it always brings a different atmosphere. So that would be awesome to see. So I am a proponent of going to mainly ovals, but I know it's not going to happen because IndyCar is stuck in their own ways, and they can't get out of those older ways that this is how we've done it forever, and it's been working well. I mean, your ratings may be up, but when an F1 race that goes on earlier in the morning has higher rating, has more fans viewing than you do, maybe you should try something different.
Yeah, and I think difference is coming. Difference happened today, obviously, as we hype up what this announcement was. If you haven't seen it, and we'll get to that here when we get to the news and notes section. My next takeaway from Sunday's race is I think you have to give credit where credit is due, and huge day I think for Nolan Siegel. In my opinion, obviously he wants to get to the top show, to IndyCar, and I think the job that he did yesterday or Sunday was tremendous. But I don't know if both of you, but do you remember what you guys were doing at the age of 19? because Nolan Siegel just went out and completed his first IndyCar race last Sunday at the young age of 19. So like I said, give credit where credit is due. I thought Nolan Siegel did a yeoman's job in driving that number 78 Hukos Hollinger Racing Chevrolet. Obviously, all of the, all the outside noise that was coming from that, and how quickly he was thrust into that seat there on Friday right before first practice. And I think this is huge for Nolan, obviously, not only to be able to complete his first IndyCar race, but coming off such a disappointing month of May, Nolan pretty much was refocused on the Indy Next by Firestone season, where he was leading in points at that point in time. And then, like I said, out of the blue, Hukos Hollinger Racing comes in and tabs Siegel to take over the reins, while Augustine Canapino obviously wasn't in the correct mental state there on Friday over the weekend to drive. But obviously things have changed there too, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But the circumstances being what they were, Siegel not only qualified 21st, but raced every lap, kept his nose clean, and finished. And I think that's got to be his number one goal when he does these sub IndyCar rides, is finishing. And he finished 23rd. Just a quote from him after the race. Overall, I'm happy with the way we handled the variables that were in our control today, Siegel said following the race. The car was fast all weekend, and we've got the balance into a very comfortable window that allowed for some solid stints. Unfortunately, we had an issue with our second set of reds that forced us to do an extra stop and took us out of contention, but I'm extremely grateful to have to be given and have the opportunity. A huge thank you to Ricardo, that's Ricardo Hukos car team owner, Brad, and everyone at Hukos Hollinger for their trust. So, guys, curious to get to your thoughts, your take on the day that Nolan Siegel had last Sunday.
Josh, go ahead and take this.
It was a fantastic thing for the young man. When I was 19, I was fresh out of high school and not doing anything nearly as strenuous as Mr. Siegel was this past Sunday. And for him to be able to, like you said, be thrust into the car with Canapino not being able to drive, with whatever mental state he was in, and like you said, I mean, it's hard to go around these tracks, and if he's experienced, but he doesn't have as much experience as the veterans, to be able to make it around and do all 55 laps and not have to withdraw due to any mechanical failures or any errors that you've done or somebody else has done to knock you out. It speaks volumes for the young man, and hopefully going forward with these sub rides, he can make a name for himself and get himself a full-time contract on the NTT IndyCar circuit sometime with another team somewhere, or it could be with Hukos. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, looking at it, from a standpoint of a fan, it's great to see him get that experience. Like you said, Josh, he kept the nose clean, ran all the laps. It's pretty impressive for, just kind of getting thrown in that, coming into the weekend, he's all about the Indy Next. And then now he's, thrown into the IndyCar and rushing around. The last time we seen him in an IndyCar, he was backwards in the fence in turn 2. Qualifying for the Indy 500. So for him to come out, keep the nose clean, complete all the laps, great for a rookie, trying to get the car home and get some points. So it's good for him. I think we'll see some improvements from him, going forward if he can get into a car in the IndyCar series full time and just building on that.
Yeah, I think you both are absolutely right, and I think Nolan obviously has a bright future, and I think the way he kept that car clean, like you both said on Sunday, is definitely speaks volumes. And with a silly season here coming up, in the next few months, Nolan's I think is definitely going to be given a good hard look at a ride in 2025. Next point, next takeaway that I had from the race this past Sunday. Obviously, Josh touched on it there in the first point, but struggles of Chip Ganassi racing. You think of the history of Road America and how particularly good that it has been to Chip Ganassi racing their cars and drivers over the years. They've won 7 times on this course, including 4 times since 2022, and obviously the most recent one was when Alex Palou right after the 500, after Detroit went on that hot streak that he had there in the number 10 American Legion Honda just this past June. But last weekend, obviously, I think was a totally different story for them. Kudos to Chip Ganassi Racing for being able to get all 5 of their cars into the top 12 when it come to qualifying, and then their rookie Linus Lundqvist in the number 8 American Legion Honda being able to collect his first NTTP1 award of his career. But when the race started, I think that's when the trouble began for Chip Ganassi Racing. Josh alluded to again on the opening lap, Lundqvist and Marcus Ericsson in his number 11, or Marcus Armstrong in the number 11 Ridgeline Honda spun out in the opening lap and, obviously never recovered. Lundqvist ended up finishing 12th, Armstrong 26th respectively. And just a spoiler alert, Marcus Armstrong was my pick to win the race, so the kiss of death there for him. Rookie Kiffin Simpson was only able to complete 5 laps in his number 4 Journey Rewards Honda before finding the tire barrier to bring his race to an end and finish 27th. Last week's winner, Detroit, or 2 weeks winner in Detroit, Scott Dixon in the number 9 PNC Bank Honda was never really a contender. He finished 21st. And the only car to actually give Chip Ganassi Racing a chance was their, the future face of their race team, Alex Palou, who finished 4th. So talk about, and again, I could be wrong here, but talk about the struggles that the Chip Ganassi Racing team had this past Sunday.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, very not Chip Ganassi like for sure. It's always interesting to me when a team brings in that 5th car. It just never seems to fully develop. Like normally a couple of the teams struggle, and while they had a road bump, that's what we'll call it, Road America. I mean, the next 2 tracks, at least for Palou and Dixon, are, I don't know how many times these Dixons won at Mid-Ohio. So, I mean, and you can never really count them out. I'm not sure what happened to him at Road America. Dixon was just, like you said, Derek, nowhere to be found, never in contention. You always look for Dixon to be close to the front, but never seen him there. At the beginning of the highlight video there, we seen, they never really, at least in the highlight video, never talked about what happened. He was just, getting passed left and right. So very, very strange for sure. If this continues to happen, I would, sound the alarm, but, one-off race is kind of, not cause for too much concern. Kiffin Simpson, he's still trying to get the cars, figure them out. And he's a rookie. He's going through that rookie slump. So wouldn't put too much on him. Same with Linus as well. So it just, an off race for them. I'm sure, we'll be talking in a couple weeks about how Chip Ganassi's turned it around. So.
Yeah, I mean, not much more I can add to that. It's the same. I mean, everyone has off weeks, and this was Chip's team's off week. I mean, Polo was still able to finish the race. I believe he was high up there, but it doesn't surprise me. I mean, Dixon is with what happened with Dixon, and he is he's a veteran, but I've noticed over the course of when I've been watching, he'll win a race and then he'll go away for I don't he won't go away, but he won't have as dominant or won't be running up there as well over the next couple races, and then all of a sudden, we're in a we're on a road course or a street course, and all of a sudden we're talking about how man, Scott Dixon's up there and he's in the lead, and we're going to be close on fuel, so it's going to be Scott Dixon's race to win. So just a road America bump, but I don't look for them to continue this. Laguna Seca will be good for them. I'm sure they'll come out and want to flex their muscle as they can, and Pelot is trying to stay consistent and maybe be there towards the end to be able to pick up a second championship at the end just by being so consistent throughout the year.
Yeah, I think you both are right. I don't think there's much cause for concern here at Chip Ganassi Racing. Obviously, as the Baltimore Orioles showed today, and 22 other times this year, you can obviously have a bad day unless you're the New York Yankees, and that never happens. But I think you're right. Obviously, there is no cause for concern whatsoever, and they'll be able to bounce back here next weekend when we get to Laguna Seca for sure. Last two takeaways that I have has to do with the other Juncos Hollinger racing machine, and that has to do with Romain Grosjean. I know, love him or hate him, but I thought Romain finishing seventh this week, obviously with all of the outside noise coming to that team. I thought it was a job well done for Romain. Like you said, all of the noise and news coming out of Detroit behind that Juncos Hollinger machine, and then you had the news that Arrow McLaren was terminating their on-track alliance with Juncos Hollinger Racing, and then everything that took place right there, that first practice on Friday. Give tons of credit there to Romain Grosjean and the whole 77 crew being able to, like I said, block out all of the outside noise and capturing a top 10 finish. And I wish I could give a hat tip to where I got this stat from, and I know I got it on X or Twitter, and I forget who the handle was that put this out here, but I don't know if you guys know this or not, but Romain Grosjean's average finish on all three natural road courses this year is 10th. I didn't know that. Did not know that whatsoever. Obviously, this was Grosjean's second top 10 finish this year. His other one, he finished eighth at Long Beach there back in April. So it's going to be interesting to see. We touched a little bit when it comes to silly season coming up here in the next few months, but with Grosjean being a free agent here at the end of the year, curious to see what he's going to be able to do with 10 races left. Is he going to be able to impress Ricardo Juncos enough to bring him back, or is he going to catch the eye of another IndyCar Series car owner? It remains to be seen, but curious to get your guys' thoughts on the race Romain Grosjean had on Sunday.
He had a good race. I know it's been a little hectic with Juncos, so I'm sure they're not fond of Argentinians right now, causing all kinds of problems and different stuff, But and I may have just made some Argentinians mad if they're watching this, but I don't care. I'm not soft like some other people and get mad because of comments. But back to Grosjean, he's having one heck of a season. Hopefully hopefully he stays clean and can keep going. And maybe Michael knows a little bit more about how Grosjean is. I don't follow Juncos Hollinger too closely, so maybe you know a little bit more and can give a little more insight on how Grosjean's doing.
Yeah, so for me with Roman, it's the few years he's been in the series, obviously coming from Formula One, had the scary crash there. He kind of put that out that first season, come in, and everyone was very impressed with him. And it was that smaller team, with Dale Coyne and Rick Ware. And then he went to I think he got, I don't want to say he got shoved into a bigger team, but I feel like he kind of got moved up too quick. He didn't really have that experience behind him. And then I think, last year we really seen it. The pressure just built. The later in the season, the pressure built and built and built, and he crashed at Detroit. And he was fuming at Detroit. And it just seemed like from Detroit on, it was just a downhill slide. He's gotten in this car with Juncos, and I think he's really trying to change the culture around there. And I know that's kind of crazy talking about the culture there, especially coming off the past couple weeks. But I think he thrives in a smaller team. He thrives. If you look back at his Formula One career, he thrived at Haas. He outperformed the car more times than not. And I feel like he can do that with this organization. It's just kind of taking a little bit more time. That pressure isn't as high on him here. And I think he'll stay with the team for next year. I believe that he will impress. Right now he's sitting 16th in points, ahead of quite a few people. So a few full timers. So I think if he can just stay consistent, stay out of everyone's mess, and just kind of keep his head down and focus forward, I think he'll stay with Juncos in 2025.
You know what? Michael, I could definitely see that, but obviously sometimes Roman staying in his lane, so to say, is tough for him. I don't know what it is, but I just think sometimes it's tough for him, for sure. All right, last takeaway. Obviously, I think everyone knows what this is going to be, but Team Penske, obviously, and I know Josh is probably thinking how tainted this is with the cloud of turmoil that hangs over Team Penske this year. But obviously, Penske taking all three podium spots there on Sunday. I would imagine that the Penske drivers obviously had to be a little bit of embarrassed, especially when you are a Chevy-powered team as well, and you carry the colors and name of Team Penske. When you get embarrassed like they did at Detroit a few weeks ago, where Honda flexed their muscle there a little bit, and I think Penske made up for that. Team Penske, that is, made up for that on Sunday, sweeping the podium for the first time since 2017. First, Scott McLaughlin in number 3, XPEL machine. I thought he had a strong car throughout the race, just kind of fell off dramatically there with about 25 laps to go, and he never really was a factor after that. And then it's getting back to those average finishes on 3 natural road courses this year for McLaughlin is 3rd, so that's kind of interesting, I thought. And then Joseph Newgarden, the 2-time Indianapolis 500 champion, his biggest challenge I thought was coming into the race was what was he going to do in that backup machine. If everybody's seen on Saturday, Joseph Newgarden and his crew decided to put on those softer red compound tires, and right there, right before the Firestone Fast 6 was concluding, they found still a wet spot on the track, and you've seen what the aftermath was of that. Joseph Newgarden hitting hard inside that safer barrier. Good thing that safer barrier was there, because I can't imagine what that would have been if they would have smacked concrete. And then a hat tip here to Nathan Brown, his reporting there Saturday evening. Team Penske decided to go to a backup car for the simple fact that it would be quicker to assemble and get ready to race a whole lot quicker. So Nathan Brown of the Indianapolis Star, hat tip for you for that. And then the job that the number 2 crew did, getting that backup car assembled, because the morning warm-up session put Joseph Newgarden the quickest there, and he ended up bringing home a P2 finish. And this stat blows my mind, and I didn't know. Well, I didn't know in this day and age of, everybody gets a participation trophy and medal, that there is a stat for runner-up finishes. With Joseph Newgarden, I guess it goes back to the old, Talladega Nights. If you're not first, you're last kind of deal. But with Newgarden finishing second on Sunday, he now ties the great Johnny Rutherford for 18th all-time in runner-up finishes with 19. Again, I had no idea that stat even existed. But what a company that you sit right there with the great Johnny Rutherford. And then Will Power. What else can you say? Will Power and Scott Dixon, the GOATs of this series. What else can you say about them? Coming into Sunday, it was 2 years and 4 days since Will Power collected his last IndyCar win, and that was at Belle Isle before we moved to Detroit just last year. And how close did Will Power come in that stretch to winning? Well, all he did was get 13 podiums, 7 second-place finishes, and 6 third-place finishes. And again, his average finish on all 3 road courses this season, first. So congratulations to Will Power. Kind of curious to get your guys' thoughts here on Team Penske's dominating performance there on Sunday as we wrap up the takeaways from Road America.
Josh, do you have a rant for us maybe about Penske?
I don't. I reserve judgment for, I don't know, was it 6 weeks or 7 weeks it took us before we figured out that they had cheated in the first round. No, congratulations to Will Power. 34 races it took him to since between wins. Always happy that when a driver gets out of a slump, to use a baseball term. Last win, like Derek said, back at Belle Isle at the last time that they ran at Belle Isle. I mean, it was a dominant week for Penske. Taking home all three podium spots doesn't happen very often with one team. So, like I said, I hold my congratulations until the investigation's over, because everyone's gonna, with them having such a dominant week, there's gonna be some big rumblings for an investigation, and Roger will probably squash those because he can't have two bad presses in 1 year. So, but congratulations to Will Power, the great driver from Australia, and see if they can keep that momentum going into this race coming up next weekend.
Yeah, I mean, coming up from the IndyCar series, for, I don't know, I'm not gonna say numbers because it'll be bad, but I've always been a Will Power fan. He's very fan friendly, always there to talk and sign autographs for everyone. So always been a big Will Power fan. And yeah, to see, with the struggles he had last year, not only on the racetrack at times, but, in his personal life with, all the issues he had with his wife and everything, it was good for him, not only to end the winless streak, but, also to, have his wife and son there in victory lane. That was really good to see. I know it probably brought some tears to some people's eyes, and, cheers to others. And I think collectively we can all say, it was a good win for him. Very excited for him, and just not much more you can say about the domination of Penske. Like you said, Josh, someone's probably, we need an investigation for sure because of what's going on. But, Derek brought it up a little bit with Joseph's crash. I mean, 95 G's is what they're saying that crash was. That's intense. I mean, just the sound alone was enough to make you cringe. So to come back and, pull a backup car and put it together. And, I know Chevy said that they pulled the engine and sent it to Detroit. I don't know if there's any updates on the engine or not to see if, there's any issues with it, but if not, that will be impressive for sure. So I'm just, hats off to IndyCar and the safety. And we kind of touched on that a little bit ago, but the safety of these cars has come a long way.
Yeah, it absolutely has, and we'll see what transpires if IndyCar lets Team Penske keep this win, or if something does transpire. But I would be shocked if something else does happen from that camp here for the rest of the year. Let's get to a couple interviews, and we do have a winner's circle interview with Will Power before we bring our betting expert Mike in to let him gloat on the weekend that he had. Let's get to some driver interviews first.
Down here in Road America, unfortunately we got taken out in the beginning. We were kind of off strategy, saving a bunch of fuel. Didn't really have enough pace with the fuel save, unfortunately. But I think honestly, if we did it again, we couldn't have done anything different except not getting hit. And P14, very average result, but we moved forward. I think we're decently quick, just not our luck today.
Glitch machine, the Series XPEL car was actually pretty strong. From starting 27, finishing 19, I have to give up to the guys that they did a great job. Now I passed the baton to obviously Dave Malukas. He's going to take care of it, and looking forward to be in his corner and going to a place in Milwaukee that I really love, so I'll be there, and hopefully in Laguna we're going to collect more points.
With his wife Liz, who is in tears when she walked up. Of course, son Bo in hand as well. And Will, mom's here. It's been a long time, Will Power. 2022 Belle Isle, and I thought, boy, he's going to go on a roll here and just get a ton of wins. Does this feel like a relief more than anything?
No, I said at the beginning of this year, we need to get multiple wins, not just one. But that's the beginning. That's the beginning. We've been working hard. We've been fast everywhere. It's just it's a tough series. It's very tough to win here.
Talk about beginnings. The beginning of this race, you made your way through, but it was extremely tight.
It was very tight. Yeah, I don't even know what happened up there. I didn't get the best start, but it's a big mess and just missed some people in turn one there.
Talk about the last stop. Obviously, that's what took you from third. Your teammates pitted, and you were able to jump not only Scott, but Joseph as well.
Man, my guys are the quickest in pit lane every week. I just have so much faith in them. They're the best group I've ever had on my car. It's so positive, and no matter what happens, we're always in a good mood. So it's a really pleasant atmosphere, and they deserve this win.
How about Verizon as well? They've been with you so long and have supported your career.
Yeah, I can't thank Verizon enough. It's not often that you see a sponsor on a car for that many years, and they're still with me, and I'm still winning.
Well, the fans are here. They can hear you. How about a nice cheer for our winner today? Here at the Road America Road Course, the XPEL Grand Prix at Road America. Will Power, your victor today. Well, with his wife Liz, who is in tears when she walked up. Of course, son Bo in hand as well. And Will, mom's here. It's been a long time, Will Power. 2020.
All right, good stuff there. As always, a huge thank you to all of the drivers that took a little bit of time out of their busy schedule there after the race on Sunday to give us a little insight as to what their race looked like this weekend. But I think one person that didn't care that Team Penske swept the podium was Mike. Mike, if memory serves me correctly, you were pretty glatocious, if that's a word, on Sunday on Twitter after Will Power won. Is that correct?
Well, I don't think that's a word, but yes, I was really happy. 12-1, Willpower was a huge winner for me. It was the most profitable week of the year, like by far. Made up for kind of the weaker Indy 500 results, little small loss there, and yeah, it was awesome. So hit Willpower 12-1. I was on him before qualifications, on him after qualifications, at 10-1 as well, and then I had a big bet on Newgarden to finish top 3. So those are the two biggest bets of the weekend. Those are the ones that I was just kind of all over on Twitter. And then the Newgarden thing, I saw you guys talking about it. Like I wasn't on that, and I was on him, and then he crashed, and I was like, well, there goes that. And then I'm really happy that backup car was so fast in practice, because that's what sold me on that top 3 bet for him as well. So I didn't have a lot of faith in the guy starting up front. I actually thought Herder was going to win the race. I didn't think that power bet was going to cash. Herder kind of got what always happens to Herder, just bad luck or something. He does something dumb or somebody does something dumb to him. But yeah, man, great weekend. Big winner in power at 12-1. Big winner in Joseph coming in top 3. So super happy.
Yeah, I thought I seen on Twitter your excitement, or through all what you were typing and what you were sending, that you were glad to see that Willpower won, and now I'm sure you took all of those winnings and you put towards Tiger Woods this weekend at the U.S. Open. Is that right?
To miss the cut, yeah. We'll see if that works out or not. Yeah, there's always some money on something if there's something to bet on. I'm a big golf nut. So, yeah, we're betting on the golf as always, not betting on Tiger. Those days are gone. But, yeah, so, no, been Willpower, man. A lot of people – I got a lot of messages from people that made money and bet it and followed. So that was really cool to see. That just gets me that people are betting and people are into it and people are doing it a lot more. And the 500 is always a boost and kind of people talking about it. And then it's nice to see some people kind of stuck with it. And we're still excited about it, interested in it. So I can always tell by how many messages I'm getting. And there were a lot of happy people, especially, with both of those 2 bets being the ones that I was kind of pushing for folks. So it's always good to see and happy to help people out and happy really for my own bank account too.
Yeah, good stuff there, Mike. I know we're not on the track this weekend, but next weekend we'll be at Laguna Seca. So they'll give you about an extra week to prepare. I would imagine what Wednesday or Thursday, or maybe later, Friday potentially is when we're going to start seeing those odds roll out.
Yeah, it's right back to what we're used to. No more Indy 500 glory of having the betting odds out early. I think they got them out like late Friday for this race, for the last race. So I expect Thursday or Friday again. We'll see odds again. And man, Ranger, you can't not bet Penske cars. Like they're dominating. And you know what? Even if they are cheating, nobody paid me any money for my Pato Award pick. So I learned the hard way that it doesn't matter if they're cheating. You still get paid by the sports books, even if they come back and take these wins away. Because I, like I said, never got paid for my Pato win in St. Pete. But going to stay right on the Penske cars. I mean, Palou, obviously, I'm waiting for him to get hot. Hurt as fast at that track again, but he'll probably do the same thing. But I've had good luck. One of the things I didn't talk about was when qualifications get messed up because of something, red flag, rain, that just presents betting opportunities because, Linus, whatever, he wouldn't have been up front. Like he would have probably been 5th or 6th, maybe even worse. He's a rain driver. He mentioned that as well. You would have probably had a whole different Firestone Class 6. So weird things happen. It's good betting opportunity. But yeah, this next race, I'm going to be right back on McLaughlin, Joseph, and Will. Will's got good history at this track. So I imagine I'm not going to get 12-1 anymore. He's leading the championship. He's now won a race and come second 2-3 times, bunch of times. I imagine his odds are about to plummet. But and Award's always a guy too. He's got some good fast track history here as well. And this is another weird track. Dixon won last year on, if I recall, it was another fuel strategy. He did 5 stops. I hate when Dixon wins like that. It drives me crazy. But it's a funky track. But that was one nice part about this race is that there was no fuel strategy. There was no tire strategy. After those cautions happened, it was just a drag race. Fastest cars win, and those were the Penske cars.
Definitely. What Mike? Sorry, Mike. I think Roger.
Go ahead, Josh.
Roger Penske may be calling you because he's going to need some money to fix that car. $95,000 worth of damage. Yeah, it'll be interesting. Laguna Seca. One question I have, which is not IndyCar related. Who's your money on the Stanley Cup? We got the Florida Panthers. I know you're from Florida, but you're a Tampa fan. Is Edmonton gonna be able to come back and take this?
No, Panthers are gonna win it. I think they just scored. I just heard my family is in the living room, and I just heard clapping, so they are rooting. So that tells me that the Panthers just scored.
Nope.
I bet the over tonight. After cashing 2 under bets in the first two games. I'm on the over tonight. I was kind of thinking Edmonton was going to take this one. It was going to be a little bit more of a shootout, 3-2, 4-2, something like that. So if it goes over 5.5, I'll be happy. I really don't care who wins. I guess I've got some Panther fans in the family. I've been to plenty of Panther games. They're kind of like I grew up down there, so they're my second team behind my Lightning, even though they took the Lightning out. So I'll be rooting for the Panthers. I do think they'll win it probably 5 or 6 games. They're a better team. They're just more physical.
Yeah, Panthers didn't score, but Bob just had a great.
See, I knew something happened. I could hear in the other room.
Had a great save, but until we talk again next week, Mike, we'll keep watching you on X.
Yeah, I mean, no race next week, so that's okay. Or no race for a week, so we'll be back at it, and we'll see. We'll just play the waiting game for odds, and then I mean, it's gonna be. Let's see what numbers they drop on the Penske cars again. So. We'll see what happens there. But if they're all double digits, then we'll probably bet them all, and we'll see from there. But they can't make them all too low. So there'll be opportunity. If they put all the Penske cars at the top, then I'll probably switch over, and I'll bet Palou and Herta and Pato at the 10 to 12 to 1s. It's all, you got to be careful about not just it's about the numbers sometimes too.
Mike, good stuff as always. We'll talk in about a week or so as we'll look forward to what may take place at Seca. So thanks for everything that you do, and we'll talk in about a week.
All right, guys, take care.
All right, good stuff there from Mike. Go follow him on Twitter or X. Obviously made a little bit of money there last week. So if you are interested in making money like everyone is, I would hope that is a better or amateur better, go follow Mike, and all the information he puts out obviously comes to good use. We'll get back to looking at Road America this past weekend. We got to look at results, point standings, and I know Josh can't wait to look at the race picks because it is ugly, ladies and gentlemen. It is absolutely ugly, to say the least. Hopefully, Mike can come in here in the second half and dethrone Josh, because yours truly obviously is not going to do it, because he is the kiss of death when it comes to picking races. But here are your up-to-date here are the results rather from the race this Sunday. If you have not seen them, obviously it was Will Power, Alex Palou, Scott Dixon were your top 3. Then Pato Award, Scott McLaughlin. Or wait a minute, let's try this again. Here we go. Let's flip this tab around. That was the point standings. I figured I was going to throw everybody for a loop. Here, let's try this again. Here we go. The results from last Sunday. Apparently, I've been living under a rock and had it all wrong. Will Power, Joseph Newgarden, Scott McLaughlin were your top three. Then it was Alex Palou, Kyle Kirkwood, Colton Herta, Roman Grosjean, Pato Award, Marcus Ericsson, and Graham Rahal were your top 10. Then Christian Lundgaard, Linus Lundqvist, Theo Pourchaire, Felix Rosenqvist, Santino Ferrucci, Pietro Fittipaldi, Josh's favorite, Stingray Robb, Alexander Rossi, Elio Castroneves, and Christian Rasmussen round out your top 20. Then it was Scott Dixon, Luca Galido, Nolan Siegel, Renus VK, Jack Harvey, Marcus Armstrong, and Kiffin Simpson round out the top 27. Now, let's take a look at the point standings as they are currently. It is Will Power, followed by Alex Palou, Scott Dixon, Pato Award, Scott McLaughlin, Kyle Kirkwood, Colton Herta, Joseph Newgarden, Alexander Rossi, and Felix Rosenqvist make out your top 10. Then Christian Lundgaard, Santino Ferrucci, Marcus Ericsson, followed by Marcus Armstrong, Graham Rahal, Roman Grosjean, Renus VK, Linus Lundqvist, Kiffin Simpson, and Pietro Fittipaldi round out your top 20. Then it's Theo Pourchaire, Augustine Canapino, Stingray Robb, Christian Rasmussen round out your top 24 in points. Fellas, we do need to get to our sponsors here. Actually, you know what? Before we do that, man, I am all discombobulated today. Josh, I'm trying to avoid looking at the race picks. I'm just going to be quite honest. I am trying to avoid this at all costs. But as you see up there on your screen, after the races so far, Josh has a commanding 6-2 lead. Like I said, anybody I pick is the kiss of death. So if you are a IndyCar driver, make sure that I don't pick you to win the race, because you will not do it. I guarantee it. You will not do it. And like I said, it's been awful. It has been totally awful for this year. So hopefully I'm going to get this off the screen as quickly as possible, because nobody else wants to see that. All right. Now we'll get to our sponsors, then we'll get back and get into the news, because, oh boy, is there a lot of it. But before we get to that, like I said, huge thank you to both of the show sponsors, because obviously without these two fine companies, it would be tough for all three of us to be here on Tuesday nights. Well, I know today is Thursday, but Tuesday nights here on the Push to Pass podcast. First, huge thank you to Always Ready 1776 for any and all patriotic apparel, headwear, and more. Go check out Always Ready 1776, and you can find them on the web at alwaysready1776.com. And if you use the promo code that you see up there on your screen, Push to Pass, you will receive 10% off of your order. Also, huge thank you to Get 'em Associates. I know they just changed their logo, so I need to go and pull that and put that in here. But for all of your home design, build, and remodeling needs, remember, it's Get 'em Associates, and you can find them on the intraweb as well at getem.com. And if you use the promo code again that you see up on your screen there, Push to Pass, you will get $250 off any design service. A huge thank you both to Always Ready 1776 and Get 'em Associates for everything they do here at the Push to Pass podcast. Now, getting back to the business at hand, gentlemen, what a interesting week, I think, to say the least here. So many news items that broke during the week. It seemed like we were getting news from the world of the NTT IndyCar series, a story a day. It seemed like the first story that comes to mind when we get to the news and notes section here is the news coming from the Meyershank Racing Camp that has to do with adding David Malukas for the remainder of the 2024 season. If you remember, just 5 weeks ago, Malukas was released from his contract with Arrow McLaren, due in large part to an off-season injury that he sustained during a biking accident that obviously was healing slower than anticipated. Well, David Malukas, per a team announcement through the Meyershank Racing website, Malukas will be driving in the number 66 AutoNation Arctic Wolf Honda, obviously for Meyershank Racing for the remainder of the 2024 NTT IndyCar Series season, and he will make his long-awaited debut, not for Arrow McLaren, but for Meyershank Racing at the Firestone Grand Prix of Monterey or Laguna Seca on June 23rd. And then also, too, this week, Malukas made his debut on the oval there for Meyershank Racing as he did some testing at the Milwaukee Speedway. Quote from Meyershank here: this whole process has been extremely difficult on myself and team co-owner Jim Meyer. There were many things for us to consider as we needed to do everything we can to make up ground in the championship and leaders circle standings. We are pleased to have David join us as he has both experience and potential, and we are looking forward to having him join us starting in Milwaukee for a test and then racing with him at Laguna Seca. And then a little quote here from David Malukas: I am extremely grateful to join Jim Meyer, Meyershank, and the whole Meyershank Racing team for the opportunity to finish out the 2024 season. So great to have David Malukas back on the circuit here on the series. Kind of curious to both your guys' thoughts on to what David Malukas could bring to a Meyershank Racing for the 10 races that we have left here in the season.
Mike, go ahead and take that one if you want to.
Okay, so this whole situation is kind of odd. I do believe that David will do very well, especially on the ovals. I think he's itching to get back behind the wheel. Laguna Seca will be a good breaking ground for him because it's going to be, the road course and the rights, the lefts, back and forth on that wrist will really give him a good test to see how that thing is doing for him. But the whole situation behind the 66 car in general is it just seems fishy. I don't know. And there's not much more I could say about it. Yeah, I don't really know.
Excited to see David's going to get a ride. He had an accident, like you were saying, in the off season, and the fact that Arrow did not feel that he was progressing well enough and let him go without even seeing him in an Arrow car, I thought was kind of shady on Zach Brown and Arrow McLaren's point on their part. But Malukas being able to come out and get a ride with Meyershank, kind of hoping that he comes out and either A, finishes above every single Arrow car, or B, can pull off a win. And I know it'd be improbable, but to go out and have a strong showing and to just show Arrow what they're missing. They must have saw something in him, and they didn't want to. They were not patient enough for him, and I understand. It's a business decision. If you're not in the car, you're not making money for the team. But I felt that Arrow could have held out a little bit longer than they did. So I'm rooting for the young man, and I hope he has a great showing in a couple weekend and a couple Sundays at Laguna Seca.
Yeah, to both your points. First with Michaels, I agree with you there. I think and none of us have been in the position that Michael Shank is in, obviously, but naming Tom Bloomquist as your driver, not having any IndyCar experience whatsoever, I feel that's a setback to him. I'm glad to see that he's going to be able to stay on the Meyershank program on their other racing aspects, but I think that's just I think that's putting Tom behind the 8 ball. They're putting him in a car that he had zero experience coming into. And then to Josh's point, glad to see David back. I'm kind of curious to see now what David can do. Obviously, if you think back when he was on the oval last year, I believe was it Worldwide Technology Raceway? It was either this year or last year. He was, I think he was P2 for majority of the race. So, he's fast when it comes to an oval. So I'm kind of curious to see with better equipment what David is going to be able to bring to the table. Also, somebody else making a comeback for the rest of the year, just on the oval side of things. I don't know if you guys seen this or not, but a huge hat tip to Tony Donahue. I think of front stretch open wheel. He was the first to break this, and then Dale Coyne Racing has confirmed that Catherine Legg, who had a disappointing Indianapolis 500, it was announced that she will be racing the remaining ovals for Dale Coyne Racing in the number 51 Honda for the remainder of the 2024 season. And she got things started this past week at the Milwaukee testing. She ended up 20th quick there at 151 miles an hour with just 92 laps ran. But Catherine Legg is going to compete in the remaining ovals there for Dale Coyne Racing for the remainder of the 2024 season. Curious to hear your guys' thoughts on that.
Congratulations and good luck. That's it's news, but to me it's not big news. It's she's a much better driver than I would ever be out there. So just congratulations, good luck, and best of wishes to you.
So when I look at it, it's a little bit of consistency. I think that's the one thing that Dale Coyne Racing has lacked a lot this year, is just that consistent driver. I know Jack Harvey's ran majority of the races in the 18, but when you bounce back and forth between driver, the crew isn't gelling all the way. So to kind of have a little bit more stability in the 51 will be good for the team. But like Josh said, it's news, and it's definitely noteworthy. I wonder if ELF or ELF will continue to sponsor that car for those races. I know they did a great time and did a good job with promoting their product in IndyCar and women in racing at the Indy 500. So if they continue to sponsor, it'd be good for the brand, and it would be good for women in racing.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Michael's right. Stability, I think, is the name of the game over there at Dale Coyne Racing. Also, too, this week, IndyCar and Road America announced a multi-year partnership extension that will see the NTT IndyCar Series obviously will not be taking Road America off their schedule anytime soon. Now, there is no years or amount of years on this partnership extension that has not been announced yet. But it seems like, Road America fans enjoy going to that race, just seeing what the viewership was last weekend. People like to tune in and see that as well. So does this move the needle for either one of you, excitement-wise, seeing that the NTT IndyCar Series is not going to be leaving Road America off the schedule here anytime soon?
I thought we were going to get a rant, Josh. No, not really. Doesn't move much for me. Kind of touch bases on it earlier. Just the attendance there is great. They have a lot of support in the area. So I don't see it, going anywhere. And with, having Milwaukee on the schedule, it's kind of, you get two birds and up there, in the same area. You get the road course and the oval. So I think it's good for both aspects of it, because Road America does have that great loyal fan base.
Just because you go first doesn't mean there's not going to be a rant. No, I'm not going to rant. It's consistent. It's consistent with what IndyCar does. They don't like to move out of their bubble. They like to they like to stay consistent. So it's no shock that they've signed an extension with them. And with the information I've been given by Michael tonight, the fact that it's a heavily attended race, and there's a lot of excitement when they do when they are there. I guess it's a good thing. Anytime you can have an excited fan base and excited atmosphere at a race, it's always a good thing. So maybe the racing will be better in the future. We'll see. But it wasn't a shock to me to see that. I would have figured there would have already been an extension or a contract drawn up that they were going to be there for the foreseeable future.
All right, a couple more news items here before we drop the checkered flag and we get on out of here. I know we touched on earlier the job that Nolan Siegel did this past weekend in the number 78 machine there for Juncos Hollinger Racing, but Ricardo Juncos just this week did announce that Agustin Canapino will be back behind the wheel of that number 78 machine at Laguna Seca next weekend. And then, Ricardo also reinforced the team's message during this difficult time that, quote, "We are a team with common goals and objectives. We will always prioritize our pilots, take care of them, and respect them. See you at Laguna Seca." So hopefully, Agustin Canapino is back in the right state of mind to get back behind the machine. Obviously, all of the upper management there at Juncos Hollinger thinks that he is. So he will be back next weekend behind the wheel there at Laguna Seca. Thoughts?
Always good to see a driver that shows promise out on the courses, get back into the car after what must have been a tough time for him, whatever he was feeling and whatever he was going through. I'm glad to see he's back out there, gives more cars that can be out on the course, and more competition for those other drivers.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Josh. I mean, he's kind of getting in that zone where he's being a little bit more competitive. I mean, even at Detroit, he was running really well, as crazy as that race was. There's a little bit of, the fans that are, still griping, but if he can just honestly just close social media and focus on his driving duties, that's probably best, not only for him, but half of us in the population. So just glad to see him back behind the wheel.
This next news item, I promise, Josh, is not a repeat, but we did have a test this past week at the Milwaukee Mile, which all of the NTT IndyCar series will be going to Labor Day weekend. And like I said, this is not a repeat, but surprisingly, and I say that with a wink and a nod, all three Team Penske drivers were 1, 2, 3 in this test, the quickest of the 20 that did test. So like I said, this is not a repeat, Josh. I don't want you to lose it, but yeah, this is definitely not a repeat. Just looking at the Milwaukee Mile, like I said, coming up this Labor Day weekend. I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but there are only 2 active drivers that have any seat time whatsoever at the Milwaukee Mile. First, obviously, Will Power, who was the quickest there in testing. He has 6 starts there at the Milwaukee Mile. He actually has a win in those 6 starts. His average starting position is 8th, and his average finishing position is 9th. And the other driver that has experience there at the Milwaukee Mile, obviously the other GOAT, Scott Dixon, there as well. The top 5 was Will Power, Joseph Newgarden, Scott McLaughlin, Colton Herta, and Pato O'Ward. So that was your testing results there at the Milwaukee Mile. If anybody was wondering, we just talked about David Malukas. He ran 111 laps at the Milwaukee Mile, and his quickest lap was in test session number 1. They had 2 different sessions, and his fastest lap was 159.293 miles an hour. So anything that either one of you want to add about this test that they had of the new hybrid, obviously, that's going to make its debut at the Mid-Ohio Sports Course and the Honda 200, presented by the 2025 Honda Civic Hybrid, which starts July 5th. And then the race will be Sunday, July 7th. If you did not hear, me and Josh have decided we're going to make the 4-hour trip right across the state line there to God's country. I know Josh is going to love that, the great state of Ohio, to check out that race. But anything else you two want to add about the Milwaukee test that we had this week?
The only thing I would say is that, pretty good to see Malukas being right there with Felix, and then just kind of odd to see Chip Ganassi not take the track time.
Well, and there's a reason, Michael, why they didn't take the track time. Remember, this is the same week that the 24 Hours of Le Mans is going. Juncos Hollinger did not participate, and neither did Chip Ganassi, because their drivers are participating in the 24 Hours of Le Mans.
That is correct. So, yes. But is Pelot is running in that, and Dixon, I believe?
You are correct, yes.
Okay.
All right. Our biggest news item of the day just happened this morning. If you haven't been paying attention, or you've been living under a rock, or maybe you've been so busy up to your eyeballs in work like Josh is on a day in, day out basis, no more rumors, no more. Starting in 2025, the NTT IndyCar Series will be the Fox Sports will be the exclusive home for the NTT IndyCar Series, as Fox Sports is going to take a little bit of a back seat when it comes to the NASCAR races. I think that's going to actually switch over to NBC. So I think both of them are flip-flopping. But yes, Fox Sports will, in the NTT IndyCar Series, and IndyCar announced a historic TV deal that will bring all 17 NTT IndyCar Series races, including the 109th running of the Indianapolis 500, to Fox and the free Fox Sports app in 2025. Now, some of the parameters that were released today include all of the races, practices, and qualifying sessions will be televised on national TV, FS1 and FS2. And then something else I think is big for the Indy Next series by Firestone is the majority of their races now are going to be shown on Fox and FS1 as well. So you want to talk about the NTT IndyCar Series getting eyeballs. Well, the Indy Next Series is going to be getting eyeballs there as well. And then Fox will also provide coverage of the Indianapolis 500 qualifying sessions that are on Saturday and Sunday. And then along with the Indianapolis 500 race day coverage for fans across the country, they're going to have a 5-hour window on Fox set aside for race day coverage. And it's going to be called, go figure this, the greatest spectacle in racing is what that 5-hour window is going to be called. Quotes from IndyCar CEO Mark Miles: "This represents unrevealed exposure and provides an unparalleled growth opportunity for the most competitive and entertaining motorsport on the planet. That comes from Mark Miles. And then Fox Sports CEO and executive producer Eric Shanks, adding the iconic Indianapolis 500 and delivering the entire NTT IndyCar series to Fox Sports roster fits perfectly within our model of teaming with sports' largest events and best in class brands. So think about this. Not only is Fox going to have the Daytona 500, they'll also have the Super Bowl, and now they're acquiring the Indianapolis 500 as well. So I think this is a great win, a great day for the sport of IndyCar. You're going to now get national exposure. And Josh, you can contest to this. What have we been pounding the table for week in and week out on this show is to get more eyeballs on this sport. And with this deal that has come down today, I think it absolutely is a win-win. And, think about the opportunity now IndyCar is going to have for more sponsors, because before, when you went to a sponsor to see if, hey, would you like to be a part of our series? Well, they asked you, well, what's your national exposure? Well, we're on a live stream, Peacock, and sometimes we're on national TV if it's NBC or if it's USA Network, which, we all three of us know nobody watches the USA Network anymore. So the exposure that IndyCar is going to get from this and the sponsorship possibilities that are going to come from this due to the fact of that national exposure being on national broadcasting TV week in and week out, I think is tremendous for the NTT IndyCar series. Curious to hear your guys' thoughts.
I think it's a fantastic thing. If you've ever watched the stock car racing coverage by Fox, the pre-race extravaganza and the announcers. Now, I'm not sure exactly which announcers they're going to have, who they're going to have them doing it, but I think if they get some intelligent, some former drivers and former analysts in there that know about IndyCar and can start bringing the casual fans along that are going to watch on Fox. If they can get them in there and get them hooked, I think this is going to be a fantastic thing for IndyCar and Fox. Fox does such a great job with the stock car racing, and they've through the late 90s and early 2000s, the Fox put NASCAR on the map by all the specials they did on them and all, just their coverage. So this is a fantastic thing, and it can only help IndyCar growing. And this is I'm glad that they were able to go out and negotiate this contract. Sorry.
So when this got announced, I kind of started a pros and cons list, because while I think it's great for the sport to have all the races on one network, we know we're going to Fox. That's where we're watching the IndyCar races. I've seen being more, with NASCAR having more races, I've seen, and Josh alluded to it, the coverage that they've had with NASCAR. And it seems that ever since NASCAR announced their new TV deal and Fox is losing 4 races from their grouping, they've kind of put NASCAR on the back burner. And I think they've been looking to pick up another racing series, and IndyCar is going to get a lot more, the spotlight that NASCAR is not. Jeff Gluck, who's a NASCAR reporter, said that NASCAR, out of their 14 races, only 5 will be on network on Fox. So that is huge. That IndyCar is taking over that bulk and kind of kicking NASCAR to the back seat, per se. Derek, you talked about it having not only the Daytona 500, but now the Indy 500, 2 of the biggest races if not the biggest races in North America on the same network that you can cross advertise, the Indy 500 at, even in February, will be really good. I will say the 2.5 hour window for the IndyCar races is slightly concerning. Tony Donahue put out all the 2023 times. I think he has some 2022 times on there as well. Detroit pushed 2 hours and 1 minute. Gateway was 2 hours and 10 minutes. So for the people who love Peacock, their coverage is their pre-race or post-race coverage is going to be condensed. So you're not going to have that, and I've seen it with NASCAR this year. They interview the winner, second place, and then they ditch to the next, broadcast programming. So that's kind of concerning for me. And I've been on social media quite a bit today looking at the responses. A lot of people are still looking for that streaming aspect. You pay $6 for Peacock, and now I know Fox and ESPN and Warner Brother are talking about, coming up with a streaming app, but I've seen where it's looking like that's going to be $40 to $50 a month. Yes, you're going to get a lot more coverage on that app. But that's a big, from $5 to $5 or $6 a month to $40 to $50 a month. That's steep. So, and I've seen a lot of people say, well, you can get Fox on, go buy an antenna. Well, some people live in, small town USA and can't get a Fox channel, or you got to hold the antenna, the correct way, or get some tin foil, wrap it around. So there are some hurdles I see. There's some cons to this. But I think, obviously the pros outweigh those, or IndyCar wouldn't have signed this deal. But to have every single race on Fox is going to be absolutely phenomenal. And if they can get that streaming platform kind of wrinkled out, I think, if you could, if you pay for the Disney bundle, which you're spending $25 a month on, and you really don't watch Disney, or you don't watch Hulu, or, you can get ESPN Plus and drop that, then, you pick it up and maybe you don't watch Peacock anymore. I don't know. There's ways to make it work, but everyone's going to be a little picky. But yeah, I like the schedule for next year. Derek, you pulled that up. It's pretty similar to this year as far as tracks, but there's some mixing up, I would say.
Yeah, this I have to say, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but this has to be the earliest that IndyCar has ever released their schedule for the following year. So they knew something was up. The only cons that I have I have a few, but the one outlier here is you look at, you open the season up at St. Petersburg. Obviously, that's something that's always done March 2nd. But then again, as we talked about this year, you have that null for 21 days. You go from the streets of St. Petersburg on March 2nd, and then you don't have any more IndyCar action until a Friday, March 21st, when you're at the Thermal Club, which is actually going to be a points race this year. It's not a non-points race. It's actually a points race. That's why you see you only see Milwaukee on here once. Because they took off one of the days, one of the races at Milwaukee to make Thermal Club a points race. And then, you race at Thermal Club March 23rd. I know a lot of people are up in arms about that, whatever. You don't have any IndyCar action again until Friday, April 11th. So it's that null again. And then you have, we think about Josh and Michael, you can contest to this too. We think about the month of May and how all the track action is out at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Well, that's not accurate either, because now they have moved Barber into the first weekend in May. So, obviously you're going to have three races in May, but one of them is not going to be at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So I think I would like to see the front half fixed to where there's not such a lull between your first and second race to your third and fourth race to your fourth and fifth race. But other than that, I think it pretty much does stay the same. You do have your ovals mixed in here. Obviously the Indianapolis 500 is an oval. Worldwide Technology Raceway is an oval. Iowa, you're racing twice, so there's 4 oval races. Portland International Raceway, that's 5. Milwaukee Mile is 6, and Nashville Speedway 7. So they do have more ovals in here, but I'm concerned with that null right there. The first 4, those first 4 races, just the gap in between there. Kind of curious to get your guys' final results before, or final comments rather, before we drop the checkered flag.
I mean I don't like that lull there in that beginning of the season. Like I didn't like it this year, but I do like the fact that Thermal Club is going to be a points race. That feels like that gives it a little bit more of an important feel, rather than just like an exhibition. The one thing I know, some people, the old timers are not going to like the fact that there's a race in May that is not got to do with Indy. Barber being 4 days into May is somebody's going to be mad, which I'm not, because I always felt. I mean, when I grew up, I heard all the month of May was, the track cars are on the track all month of May, but then it seems like now it's condensed down to only like 2.5 weeks, and that's the only time they're on. So if you've got that early part of May that's available, why not use it? Why not put cars out on the track? Keep the eyes going, and move it. And you go from Barber to Indy, and it's a flawless transition. So I think it's a good thing, and can't wait to see what Fox can do to bring more eyes onto IndyCar.
Okay, Josh, I'll be the old timer then. I don't like it if you push that Barber into April. You kind of bring that lull back a little bit, and then you could focus. You think if you go to St. Pete, Thermal, Barber, the first 3-4 races before you get to the month of May, and you've crashed 4 cars. Some of those teams need that extra week right before the month of May really kicks into finally prep those cars. So that's one aspect to look at. But I mean, I'll be the old timer. I like the month of May. When we say this is May in Indy, this is May, but now we have to say, well, this is May, but we're going to Barber first. So it kind of puts a little wrinkle into it. I do like the ending of the schedule where you're done by Labor Day. You're not really got the NFL to worry about. You have, the 17 races. I would like to see, I would say, and I know this has been, debated, but I think 20-21 races max on the schedule. You start pushing more than that. IndyCar's already pretty easy enough to get, accessible as far as access, as far as tickets, garage passes, and things like that. But you start getting, if you look at NASCAR season, they start in February and end in November. Sometimes it's like, I don't care if I miss a race. I've seen enough of it. So I think, we need a couple more races at the beginning of the season, but apart from that, we'll throw some ovals in there.
Fellas, good stuff as always. Either one of you have anything else to comment on here before we drop the checkered flag and get on out of here for another episode of the Push to Pass podcast? Either one. All right, they're both shaking their head no. I guess they are all talked out for this evening. But again, huge thank you to Mike as always for joining us. Great stuff there. Congratulations to everyone, including him, that followed his bets this week and got them some coin in their pocket, or some walking around money, as they like to say, as Josh would say, the old timers would like to say. Also, huge thank you to Josh and Michael for taking time out of their busy day, as always, every week to join us. Look forward to having Michael join us every week for his knowledge and insight. And Josh, always nice to have him, because he I have to ride his coattails every now and then, because he knows a little bit more about this stuff than I do. And then also, huge thank you to everyone that tuned in across the 3 live platforms this evening. Was very excited to see Facebook Live fire up there for a minute, YouTube obviously, and tonight we had, if you guys weren't paying attention, 25 live viewers, as we still currently do over there on X and or Twitter, depending on who you are. So huge thank you to everyone that tuned in for that as well. That does wrap it up for this episode of the Push to Pass podcast. We will be back at our regularly scheduled time next Tuesday, 8 o'clock, to preview what's going to happen that weekend there at the Firestone Grand Prix of Monterey, or Laguna Seca, depending on how you look at it. So that'll be the next time we come live onto your devices, computers, tablets, whatever you take your time to watch us on. As always, again, a huge thank you to everyone. And that's here for this episode. We will be back in just a few days' time to talk about the Firestone Grand Prix of Monterey. Until then, so long, everybody.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I felt good about today, and we had a very fast car, but got to thank all the guys, man. Great strategy, very fast.
There's Liz, his son, Bo. After all you guys went through as a family last year, is this one maybe more special than any win in your career?
Man, massively special, massively special. We've worked so hard to try get wins, and I worked really hard in the off-season. Obviously, last year was very stressful and had half my mind at home and half at the track, so it's very difficult to perform at a high level there. But, man, just stoked. Verizon has been such a big supporter of mine for so long now, and stoked to see that car back in victory lane. And Chevy had excellent horsepower today, and very happy, man. Very, very happy. That was very, very well-deserved for the whole team. We worked so hard for that.
Were there honestly times in this 2-year period, Will, where you thought, I don't know if I'm ever going to get back there?
Yeah, actually, you do start to think that, but you just, man, I know we got the pace. Long Beach were really quick, and just yellows falling at weird times and plenty of second places, but that just shows what this series is. It's no joke. It's incredibly hard to win, and you've got to work hard and do a perfect job. Otherwise, you're not going to win. So that's what we did today.
You said the word happy. That's the word you used with me this morning, right? You said, I'm just a happy guy right now. Why do you have this different perspective?
Oh, no, I just know how lucky I am. I'm lucky to drive for Penske. I'm lucky that my wife got through that last year and got a great family. I'm lucky, man. I'm lucky to do this. Anyone that complains when they've got a job like this needs a kick in the backside.
By the way, you're the new championship leader. I thought I might let you know that.
Oh, that's very nice. Yeah, and that's a great day. That's a great day, and I know it's going to be a tough fight to the end, but we're definitely up for it.